risotto can sometimes be intimidating, especially when you watch all those cooking shows. You know, the chefs are never, oh, it's not cooked enough or it's overcooked. I'm gonna make this very easy for you and show you how simple it actually is. Okay, so let me show you how simple risotto actually is to make. Please don't be intimidated by it. You cannot mess it up. And you know what? Taste is subjective as well when it comes to cooking. So you might like your risotto a little less al dente, more chewy. And al dente, by the way, means to the tooth. So it has a little bit of a bite to it, but not a raw bite. So don't pressure yourself into being like, oh my gosh, it's not perfect. This is you cooking, you make it the way you like it. So let's start by making the risotto with a little bit of olive oil in the pan. We're just gonna put about a tablespoon, just enough to kind of coat the bottom. We don't want too much because we don't want an oily risotto. And then we are gonna start by adding our onion. And we wanna sweat the onion. People are like, what does that mean? It's not like, you know, sweat when you're dancing. It means to make them translucent and soft. So we're not trying to get any brownness on them. We just want them to get translucent and soft. And this takes a few minutes, maybe 1 to 3 minutes. You get a nice translucent picture in there. Just softens them enough so when you eat your rice, you're not biting into a raw onion. All right, and I like to use a sweet onion, like a Vidalia or a sweet yellow onion. That way you don't cry when you cut it, and it also gives the dish a little bit of a sweeter flavor. Once that's sweated down, we're gonna add the arborio rice. There's a couple different kinds of rice you can use. Arborio rice, actually, the shape of it tends to give a nice build to your arancini balls, but also it's gonna release a lot of starch. So when you make a rice dish, typically you're told to put it in the water, you let it sit, you let it absorb all the water, and you don't stir it. Because you notice if you stir it, it gets starchy and it gets sticky. We want that to happen with the risotto because that's what gives it that creamy base, is by stirring it. So we're just gonna let this toast a little bit, and then once it's toasted, we're gonna deglaze the pan with some white wine. That adds a little acidity, a little tartness. Everything you add to a dish adds flavor, so the more things you add to it, the more layers of flavor you get. I actually started making these arancini when I started my business. I used to do some catering, and apparently fried balls is like everybody's favorite thing to do. So this was one of the dishes that I did a lot of. And you know, the traditional is with mozzarella, you serve it with a tomato sauce. We're gonna do something a little bit different today. We're gonna add some fig to it. Figs are in season in the fall. And since we're just approaching fall, this will be a perfect flavor, nice and sweet and savory at the same time. And I've got the heat kind of on medium. You really want to let the liquid cook down out of this before you add more liquid. So you can adjust your heat. But this is that stir, stir, stir. You don't want to not stir it, because if you don't stir it, you're going to end up with regular rice kernels and you're not going to have that creamy texture that you want. Okay, the other key to this and trick that I don't think a lot of people know is when you start adding your stock, you want that to actually be hot to start with. If you have your warm risotto cooking and you add a cold liquid, what happens is it drops the temperature in the pan, and then you have to reheat it to get that rice to keep absorbing the liquid. So we've got hot chicken stock, which again adds a little bit more flavor. You can use vegetable stock if you prefer. And we're just gonna add about a cup at a time. And again, this is something that we're gonna stir and stir. Kind of like a witch's cauldron, if you want to think about it that way, until that liquid gets absorbed. So now that our risotto is ready, we're going to add a couple more flavors just to enhance the flavor of the fig and mozzarella. We're going to actually add in some shredded mozzarella because it will blend and melt faster. And we're going to add in some fig preserves and blend that in. And then once that's done, we're going to spread it out on a sheet tray and let it get cold so it'll be ready to shape into our arancini balls. So I'm very lucky to have a sous chef here helping me. So he's gonna finish the risotto so my arm doesn't get tired, and actually it allows me to have a glass of wine. which this would actually pair really well with the arancini and the figs. Okay, so when we're ready to bread, after this comes out of the refrigerator, what we're gonna do is actually sculpt the balls, and we're gonna use a standard breading. So a standard breading station consists of flour, it consists of eggs, and it consists of whatever you're going to bread. In this case, I'm using Italian breadcrumbs. Some people like to use panko, but these are supposed to look like little oranges, so I don't want it to look like a deep fried tempura kind of thing. I want it to have the little dimples like a little orange. So we're gonna use traditional Italian breadcrumbs. So I'm gonna crack my eggs and get that ready, and then let's make some balls. All right, so I like to use all organic products. These are organic pasture-raised eggs. You'll notice they have a deep orange color to the yolk, which tells you that chickens are supposed to eat, and they'll have a better flavor. And the reason we use the eggs is so that this will all stick together. So we did take the risotto, and we did put it in the refrigerator for a few hours just so that it gets set up enough. Warm risotto, you'll have trouble folding it into a ball. So with a scoop, you can use a tablespoon. You're gonna take the risotto and just press it out. We're gonna take a cube of mozzarella, put that in the center, and then I have fresh figs. We're gonna put that in the center, and then you're going to kind of fold that over to make your ball. Now, everyone has an opinion on how big your balls should be. I think bite size is probably good, or a 2-bite ball, if you will. You know, if you make them huge, it's gonna take longer for that mozzarella to melt in the center, and also, how are you gonna eat that? So I like to have them just about, like that's about 2 bites. You get that first bite, it'll pull that mozzarella out, it'll be nice and chewy, and you'll have that lovely flavor of the roasted fig once it's fried. And those will actually go back in the refrigerator after we get them breaded. So I need to actually whisk those eggs. All right, so I like to have a dry hand and a wet hand. Otherwise your hands are gonna get all like, you know, icky, nasty. So, okay, so ball into the flour, get a nice coating. Then it goes into the egg mixture, wet hand, and then we'll put it in that breadcrumb and give it a little roll. You don't want it to be too thick. Again, I'm using my dry hand, and that's nicely breaded and will be ready to deep fry. So let's make a few more. If you have one of those cookie scoops, you know, that automatically you can buy them in different sizes, and that'll measure out to make sure that all your balls are the same size. And you have consistency, which will also help when you deep fry them, so one won't get cooked faster than the other. Mozzarella and the fig. And you know, we did add in, when the risotto was done cooking, we did put some mozzarella and fig preserves in the risotto as well, so this kind of just re-enhances the flavor. And again, dry hand, wet hand, dry hand. So now that we have our balls formed, it's time to deep fry them. So you want to make sure that your oil is hot. I just sprinkled a little cold water in there and it sizzled, so you want to stand back and not get burned. But we're just going to drop, you can do about 6 at a time, depending on how big your pot is. But we just add them to the oil. Now you don't want to have them just sit still, because the top of them might not get the same goldenness as the bottom. So you do kind of want to jostle them around a little bit, and that way you'll get even browning. And we're just looking for kind of an orangey gold color, hence the little oranges. Once they get golden crispy, we're going to plate them up. So now that the arancini are fried, you'll notice that we have a beautiful gooey center, and you've got that beautiful fig in the middle, and you can put it on a plate. I like to do odd numbers in 3 and make a beautiful presentation here, drizzled with a little bit of olive oil and balsamic and some fresh figs.